Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. I've got some issues on my end, so I don't know if everybody can see or hear this. I've had to reload my page several times. Looks to be an obvious YouTube issue, and I have no feed either. Not a big fan of the new live studio, so hopefully everybody can hear me. It seems to time out on my end more than anything else. So if everybody can hear me okay, if somebody can just shout me out there. I actually had to reload the entire thing at the very, very last second, which was just a aggravation to say the least. Let me see if everything's going well. Now I have totals that look correct. So other than the obvious 4 people who had to hit thumbs down before it even started, which is just insane that people come and waste their time doing that. But anyway, that is their call. Let me see where we got up here. Hang on just a second. Hopefully I am coming through on this end because I still do not see it. And my live feed is not showing up in the studio. So hopefully everybody sees it. Let's see here. Let me slide down, make sure we're not missing anything. There we go again. I'm sorry, folks. My YouTube is acting up immensely bad today. Let me try something else. Let me reload it one more time and see where we're at. Okay, it looks like we're okay now on my end. I don't know what the deal is, but it looks like it's fixed. I can at least see the video. So I do apologize for that. Hopefully everybody is okay. Let me see, make sure everything else is set up right. YouTube is going to stop people from being able to leave thumbs down without watching it. I've seen another thing about that post just the other day. It's kind of ridiculous that people can do that without watching the content. Again, I don't go to anybody else's channel and leave anything. I could care less what somebody else does. My page still will not load, so I still can't see if everything's set up correctly. And I have a good feed coming into the laptop, so hopefully see and hear you just fine. Okay, so everybody can at least hear me. My end's totally all over the place. It's frozen again, and geez, everything's frozen, even my timer on this end here. I don't know what the issue is here, but as long as everybody can hear me, I can't even scroll the page. I have not had any technical issues until just now, so it's really bothersome. We're going to touch on what's going on, of course, updates. Hopefully everybody is still doing some sales. I'm honestly kind of surprised at how much is still coming in right this minute. Today was just like any normal day in money-wise and sales-wise. I sold multiple purchases. One guy bought 9 different items for a couple $100 just on him, not counting all the other stuff up. Again, somebody's going to say I'm bragging. It's just what's going on. I'm really surprised, in all honesty. I'm not doing anything different in that aspect of it, so it's just the nature of, I guess, what one person sells versus what somebody else sells, I guess. I mean, I talk to a lot of people, as most of you must consider, and there's a lot of people that are having good sales, and people, depending on what they sell, are just tanking, just totally tanking. I don't know what the end result is on that. I'm going to address one issue that I did see that's moving pretty quickly and going very well. I do auctions all the time, but I only do just cheap ones to blow things out. I moved some items that I, normally wouldn't do into an auction format last week to see what would happen. And auctions are just going very well, in all honesty. In the past, they never did, and I check them all the time. I'm always running auctions just to use them up because we get 1,000 in each anchor store. So I've got 1,000 auctions. If I don't use them, I throw them away. Most months, I don't use the 1,000. I just use, 600-800 of them maybe at the best. This month, or last month, I should say, I used a bunch, and stuff just sold quite well. My take on it, as well as we've talked here, and I've talked to several other resellers that I've known for quite some time, some local guys. Their take is the same as mine, that people in the past were more concerned about getting the item quickly. Now it's not so important because they can't go anywhere. So it might be a form of entertainment to actually watch the auctions. Back when eBay started, it was all auctions. You couldn't do anything else but an auction. And it was a form of entertainment. People would sit around and watch them the last minute and all that kind of stuff. I used to watch the last couple minutes of an auction because that's usually when a lot of the movement used to happen back in the day when there were only auctions. Now, I think that's come back around just for this time frame here. So if you're having trouble, you can't sell it on the bin and stuff, switch some of your items, not a big percentage, switch the older ones over to some auctions and see what happens. Don't put the auction price lower than you would take on an offer to you as a bin. That's my thinking on that. I don't list them any lower than I would expect to at least get at them. You know, I price high, so if I've got a $30 item, I might put it up for $9.99 as an auction because I would take some items, I would take that as an offer. So just take that into consideration when you're, when you're doing this. Auctions aren't the make it or break it, but I do see movement on auctions, and it's movement I've never seen, well, not never, but I haven't seen in years and years and years and years. So, you know, it's something to anticipate or look forward to, knowing an auction's going to end. You know, we don't know what's going to go on otherwise. At least it gives something for somebody, I guess. You know, there's still a lot of opportunities out there right this very second with selling things without marking up and doing some crazy thing. You know, there are still markets that are still doing just fine. Again, it depends on what you sell. Video games, I've sold a ton. I mean, a ton. I don't have many left at this point. In just the last 2 or 3 weeks, DVDs have sold pretty much all my box sets are gone. Sheet music still is selling fairly well. Postcards, same thing. Items between, say, $8 and, say, $50 are going very, very well. And that percentage of items that's selling in that $8 to, say, $50 range is way up above beyond what normally it is. We're still selling high-dollar items. Hopefully people are having a similar take on some of this. If anybody has similar sales track, maybe you can pop that in the chat there or something. It'd be interesting to hear what everybody else is having with this. Again, this is my take. This is what we're experiencing. I don't have any employees other than family members. So for me right now, I've cut off like more than half of our labor. Wife's still not perfect back to health, so she hasn't been doing as much as usual. One of my sons has school assignments due, so he isn't helping as much just because he slacked off when he was sick, so he has to catch up. So there's basically just 2 of us doing what normally runs 9 of us to do. I know I'm not selling quite as much, but my sales loss has improved. Now we're like 13 or 14% over a typical. It was 24% last week. But as I said, sales started to pick up this week for sure, almost back to normal across the board. I've had the routines that come back, you know, on the 1st through the 7th of the month come back and hit me up as usual. I had the usual end of the month purchasers. So, I mean, it's again, it comes back down to what you sell. If you're just selling, you know, commons that there's a ton of them on eBay, you may have a little bit of a problem selling those. You know, I don't know the roundabout on those other than making sure, like I say all the time, your keywords, your photos, and the price are all like the pyramid, the triangle of your listing. Those are tied to your listings no matter what. Those are the biggest things you can fix on a listing. Usually when somebody complains about not having sales or something, and I pop on a store, it's usually things just like that. A title, you're missing like the most important thing in your listing that would make it sell quicker. Like you got a postcard with a pug dog on it, but you don't even have pug in the title. That'll sell a postcard, the word pug, if it's a pug in there. Or not having a dog in the title. Or it's a real photo and you don't have RPPC in the title. All that kind of stuff means a lot to it. Or you have a terrible photo. One mistake, and a lot of people do this, and I can tell you for sure, zoom-ins do help with your viewing. If you flood your gallery view image, the image that they browse through, fill up the whole screen, your whole space with that image. Zoom in on something that's really good. Don't show a long shot where you can't tell what's going on. And that's like 65 or 70% of the listings in the same categories I sell in. That's what I see most of. Long shots where you can't see the detail. You want it to stand out while they're scanning and sliding down, scrolling down the page at search results. You want it to stand out. A zoom in is the best way. White background is the next best way, of course. Obviously, some items you can't zoom in because of what they are, but a white background does help, in my opinion. Large images, clear images, the best possible images you can have. Knowing your prices obviously are going to help you 100%, regardless of what anybody else takes on that. Because price-wise, it's important. All of those three things are 100% important. And the other one I can tell you right now that works for us day in and day out, every single day I do it, is offers to watchers. I have one window open with offers to watchers on every single laptop or computer in the house at any given time. If I walk upstairs, I walk out back, wherever I go, there's a laptop with that opened and on. You know, so just hammer those. We're running about, I want to say, the ability to send out about 65 to 75 offers to watchers every single day is what we're about averaging. Some days it's way more than that. Some days it's less than that. And out of those, I'm at least getting 5 to 10% easily sold out of those offers. You know, it's a little bit of a plus if you're having some issues. Offers to watchers do help. I don't send them out to items we just listed, though. And I do have, I think, about 38% or so of our store is on sale. Items that have been up for longer, items in between a certain price range, I did put on sale. I stopped it there. I didn't do any more than that. It's not even 40% if I'm not mistaken. Just because the need didn't come in, sales started to pick up, as I said. You got to play this, you know, to some extent. You know, you're looking ahead, you're seeing where you're going. If your totals aren't coming in, you're going to have to play the gambit here and do some of these actions, you know, checking your prices, making sure an area isn't flooded that maybe wasn't flooded before, maybe it is now. Things like that always seem to come into play. I do look at stores occasionally, mostly in the Patreon page, but I do look at them, and those are almost always similar issues that I can say about almost every store I ever looked at through the time of me doing this for 2+ years of looking at other people's stores. So we got Cornelius. How are you doing, Cornelius? Hopefully everybody is doing well. Definitely so. Kenna from Australia as well. We've got probably half a dozen folks that come in on most of my shows from Australia. Always good to have another one. Billy, how are you doing? I went to Brimfields. We stayed in Saugus area in Mass. Very much enjoyed our trip up there. We went whale watching off Gloucester. If you've ever been up there, we stood at the Gorton's statue of the fisherman up there that's right on the coast. It's a big bronze sculpture, life-size if I remember right. Hey, Chris, how are you doing? Doing fairly well. I can't complain. I know there's a lot of people who have issues. If you saw unemployment in 2 weeks, it's 10 million new cases. It dwarfs any event we've ever had in the history of this country. So, you know, people say, you know, help out and do what you can. It just depends on your status. I've got a son, which we can't risk him getting something. We don't know what he's had at this point. They're not testing anybody. So, you know, 11 days of a high fever is a pretty stressful event. Again, I don't panic on it because there isn't a whole lot you can do, and panic just makes the situation worse, no matter what you're doing. So I don't panic. I try to always keep a level head on it, but glad he's better. I just wished we knew if he had it or not, because it could have just been the flu. The flu season is just now ending, if you're paying attention. So just FYI. Hey, Brandy, how are you doing? SoCal. Been out that way once or twice myself. Well, more than that. I think 3 times I've been to California. We flew into L.A., and I stayed in the Whittier area, if you're familiar with that. Hey, Carlene, how are you doing? Hope you are well, too. I got Balta. How are you doing as well? For those, I see quite a few Patreons. I did put a video up just about maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours ago. All your emails are answered. All the posts are answered. I priced and gave you some info on... I won't call out names, but I had some record information. I had like 30 or so emails that I had to address today. Obviously, with everybody sick, I haven't had time to do much at all with things. But all the things in Patreon have been addressed. I got another video in the works right this second that should be up Friday night or Saturday morning, I think, at this point. It's going to be some more bolo. You'll have another insider like the one that went up today, just FYI. Let's see who here. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing? Good to see you. I do have a message, so I will address those 2 on my phone. I've got a few on my phone. Hey, Gail, how are you doing? Ludowicki, hopefully I pronounced that right. I worked in Glenburn, Valdosta in Georgia, And I've got friends in Atlanta. We went to Dragon Con before it was big years ago. Well, we didn't get into the Dragon Con, but we went there for Dragon Con and didn't realize back in the day that you couldn't just get in there. But Atlanta's not a bad area. Georgia's isn't bad either, as I said. Hey, there's Dom. Dom, Primetime Treasure Hunter in the house. How are you doing, Dom? Good evening, sir. Yeah, I haven't got to talk to Dom nearly as much as usual these days with everybody being sick. I pretty much had my phone off for like 3 days, 4 days, which is unusual for me. But, life does go on. Hey, Disney Family 515. Video is up in there if you haven't seen it. Well, thank you for the call out too there, Disney Family 515. Yeah, I do put more time. There's less videos on Patreon, but they are longer, usually 30 plus minutes every one, and they're usually multi-length. I am going to add a live show just for Patreon as well, too. How Baltic Countdown looks like when they try to hypnotize you in the movies. That is a vintage countdown, actually. I have another one. I'm going to switch that up here, too. I've gone back and forth in my head along with talking to other people, including Dom, about switching my title and shortening it, but I probably won't at this point. Sounds like we got a storm starting outside. Let's pop on down here and get to some more folks in here. Hey, Richard, how are you doing? Rich, I'm sorry. Mass, yes, of course, again. Hey, Amy, how are you doing? We've been to Dallas. I worked in Dallas before. Same company. I was a regional, so I flew across the country. One of the only reasons I've been to so many places is partially because I've worked for 2 national companies as a regional, and we flew out to, CA, Whittier, Denver, all over the country, honestly. It was a national company. I worked for Einstein Brothers, the bagel company, for many years. Won't go past countdown. Hey, Carl, how are you doing there, Carl? Let's see here. Hey, Kathy, how are you doing? Trying to work with mask on, feeling a little like the Lone Ranger in CA. Yeah, we don't even have a mask here at all. Wished I did at this point, but I thought I had some still in the garage. I usually have masks for, filtering out the dust and stuff when we're doing stuff, but I can't find a single one of my masks. We're still quarantined. They added another week or so on because the wife was sick, so I think I'm on day 13 of not being out of the house at all for anything, not even a single thing. I do have some stuff I'm going to have to take care of after we're unquarantined, but up until then. Hey, Chris, how are you doing? Making profits, good evening. Yeah, I've got complaints on the intro to it being so long in the live show. Today was unhelpable. It totally crashed when I literally went to post something on the page, which is kind of annoying when you do this all the time and you rely. Like right now, my page only shows the live. I don't have any comment sections or anything showing up at all. None of the load features. Nothing's still. And we've been running the show now for, 10 minutes or something. And I still can't get my page to fully load on YouTube. Everything else is working fine. So I know it's not me or my connection. It is YouTube. I just went to Netflix before the show, right after I got back online. And, oh, hang on just a second here. Thanks, Dom. Dom just texted me. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but I know Patreon was down last night. There was a couple other sites down last night. I didn't run to look at what YouTube is. So if for some reason this goes offline, yeah, see, even in my YouTube studio, it still says connect streaming software to start preview. And I'm already live, so I don't know how that can be, but I'm not a big fan of the new YouTube live shot, truthfully. Let's hop on down here. Michelle, how are you doing this evening? Yeah, we did make it another week. Things will continue to progress. Unfortunately, it's definitely going to get worse before it ever gets better. They're talking peak now at the end of April. At this point, I don't watch a ton of news either way. I don't watch TV hardly, really at all. If it's not online, I don't watch it, truthfully. I don't have satellite, cable, nothing. Haven't for 17 years or something. We cut the cables very, very long time ago. Being an IT guy, I guess maybe it has something to do with that. I don't know. Nobody I know that's like me has TV, satellite, or anything. Of course, I'm cheap, so it's a money issue too. But I'm trying to stay away from the news to some extent because I'm more focused now on family and getting the business running. Whatever happens with the news isn't going to change my atmosphere or what I got to do to keep this going. It's not going to affect it. I still have to hammer everything the same way, and all my time now is going in here. I really don't even turn on something until I hit into the bed, and then maybe we'll throw something on to watch, and that's about it. I don't have time for TV, I guess, these days. There's a lot of stuff I wouldn't mind watching or stuff. People send me clips sometimes. Very rarely do I watch them. If they're reseller related, I'll have a more tend to watch them or business oriented. Thank you folks who do send those, because I get stuff almost every day from a group of people. Helpful stuff. So anyway, aloha, Hawaii Flower Child. How are you doing? Please stay off our islands. Yeah, the cruise ships, like in Florida, having that issue there. My opinion on that, I wouldn't have taken a cruise in this time frame personally in the first place, but they're still Americans either way. Who cares what state somebody is from in my book? We help each other out and we get through this better. If everybody's sick and dying, and it's not going to help the country at all. So just my take on it. Mogo, how are you doing? Let me hop down a little bit. I know I'm always behind. Let me actually try to catch up for once. Again, the bottom of my page is dead, so I only can see part of my feed right now. And I'm hesitant to reload the page because it's still not showing me live in this live streaming studio for some reason. Let me hop on down. Let's see here. Hang on. My feed's going to bounce. Stony Boy Curtis, how are you doing this evening? Carl stepping off. Now Midas lost my feed, so hang on. Let me go back to where we were. Hang on. Yeah, my YouTube's running awful today, I guess. Let me pop back up here. Maxed at 720p, though. It should be 1080. There's a setting set somewhere, I am assuming. And I don't think I can fix it from here. I know I'm streaming at 1080. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the YouTube setup now at all. Totally not a fan of it at all. Not sure what they accomplished by this, but anyway. So funny thought, even bad credits work for YouTubers. Not sure on the bad credit line, but Kathy, how are you doing? Michael, are collectibles selling? Yes, I have a bunch of vintage postcards, 50s, 60s, item fair, etc. that I have not listed. The newer ones, 50s and 60s, are probably chromes. Chromes do not sell as well as the vintage, say, 1910 peak era of postcards. So I would look them up by the topic or subject matter on the postcards before you list them. I look up everything I don't know. I don't care what it is. If it's a $5 postcard or a $10 postcard, I'll spend the 20 or 30 seconds to look it all up, every one of them. If it's not me looking it up, it's one of my boys or one of the employees that we have working for us. Obviously not right now. I don't have anybody else working for us. We have let a couple of our employees take stuff home. I've uploaded images and price list for them so they can still list and make some money while we're doing this. So at least they have some income coming in. Just FYI. Again, I'm listing a lot of stuff. I've centered in on items between $8 and $50 right now. Unless it's something I am pretty confident will sell, I've switched everything around. I said this, we go week by week when stuff goes on, and I address the issues. I'm correcting our sales were down 24%, and they're now down like 13 or 12 or 13% as last I looked. We've done some stuff, as I said. I've thrown some auctions out. I've moved things around. We've put some stuff on sale. Again, like 38% of our items are on sale. So nothing drastic. I didn't know fire sales. We're running a 30 or 35% off max sale on anything. Again, a lot of the items I sell are marked up 3 times, so I've only marked them down a third. So even if they sell at that, I'm still up to the 2/3 mark as to what most people get for the same items. Again, name recognition helps. Anybody who collects the items that I sell have probably bought from me before because, again, I'm one of the largest vendors for a few of the items we sell. I know everybody doesn't have that option. I wish there was a way to help everybody get into the same types of things, or at least into a niche that works for you, but that's almost impossible because everybody lives a different place. Everybody has different skill sets and means to do this all. So, just typing skill alone is a huge plus. I type around 65 or 70 words a minute, which when I see some of my friends is nothing. I got a friend who can do over 100 words a minute, which, I can't touch them, but it helps to be fast on what you do and know what you're doing. And I've said this before, the best way to do that is time. It takes you time to be able to do this. I haven't just done a whole bunch of stuff. I've been around for a lot longer than a lot of the resellers that get on here and expect it to be so easy. I'm not one to tell anybody this is easy at all. And this is going to make or break a lot of people, I have to say. I'm not wishing any ill upon anybody, but if you can make it through this will probably be the worst time you could imagine for, life in general. In our time, 9/11 is going to be dwarfed by this if it isn't already in death toll. And I'm not trying to talk bad. I'm not trying to... the severity of this issue is what I'm trying to get at. It's a severe issue. There's no hoax about this. If you haven't looked up Spanish flu, I really think you should take this in light of this. And again, I'm not trying to fear on it, but something like 25 or 30% of the population of the world died in 1918, the pandemic. That's a huge amount of people. I know obviously we're ready for it to some extent with more technology, but it's just an all scary out thing all the way around. But anyway, I did hear some real promising news, but it's going to be a little while to get out, that they have 4 antibodies that worked for the SARS, which the corona is the same line, that actually work on it, but they've got to go through the testing process. And they're I guess, really strong antibodies that will, pretty much ensure that you wouldn't be able to get it until your body builds up the immunity to it. But again, they're talking trial runs in humans won't be till September. And this is from a CDC report. This is confirmed. It's from a San Diego, I think, business or I'm not sure what the company was, but I've got it saved. I might post it if somebody's interested, maybe on Patreon or something, the link to it. But it sounded very promising that they figured out it's all in the same family. All the corona is SARS, and there's 3 or 4 other ones. There's 4 of the corona. So I'm not trying to get into the medical, but this is 100% something that, is concerning and life-changing for the globe. So, be on the ball. If you make it through this as a reseller, you've got it made, I would say. I mean, because this is going to be a tough time. And I heard talk on the news, not just on the news, but even on CDC and even on the current administration's platforms, that there has been some talk about a 10-week national shutdown. Now, again, I'm not trying to spread any rumors because there's no confirmation, but that is talk. It has been on national news. Even Dr. I can't think of Fernucci or Finacci, however his name is, the lead guy for the current administration, very bright guy. I'm very, very impressed with him. He says that the peak might not be till the end of April, and even possibly until May. So be in this for the long run, but don't panic. Don't panic. I don't know how many times I've gotten people panic. I know it's going to be a desperate, dire situation for some folks who can't pay their bills. Any relief from the government's not going to be for 2 or 3 weeks, as we all know. Even though they did strike some deal, good or bad, I'm not going to discuss that aspect of it because it helps business as usual more than anything else. And I don't want to drill, say I told you so, but this is a good time to have had a BOP. I've been talking about this since I've been on YouTube, so this isn't like me throwing this out. You can go back 2 years ago and hear me talking about a BOP. A BOP, when you get your business back in structure and this is all over, I promise you really need to look into a BOP. Most people blow it off and say, it's for getting sued and stuff like that. It's not for getting just sued. Yeah, it covers a certain percentage of that, but If I lose business from a natural disaster or something just like this, I can claim it as long as it's over a certain percentage of loss. The government has the same standard right this very second with help to small businesses included in that package they just passed. So business owner's policy covers me for my merchandise, my facilities, whether on-site or off-site, all of my merchandise, all of my backstock, everything. So if, God forbid, lightning strikes and the whole place burns down, my storage building burns down, my studio burns down, I've got it covered. You know, I'm not one to promote stuff that's not needed, but that is the one thing that if you are doing business and this is all you are doing is reselling online, you darn well better cover it, especially if you've got a family that you support with this. Because if you can't cover it and something happens, you're SOL. You know, and I have to say that because people don't take it seriously. And I've brought it up to probably almost everyone last year when I first got on. I was asking everybody who was on reselling up on here if they have a BOP. 95% of resellers I asked, and I'm talking big ones, and I'm not trying to put anybody on the call out or blast phone or anything like that, but 95% of them didn't even know what a BOP was. Again, this is the difference. I come from a background working in corporate America, running businesses. So I already knew about that. Coming from just working for somebody else, you may not know what that is. I promise you darn well better be looking that up once you get through this and have the ability to do it. Because again, stuff like this will really hurt you in the long run, not having it. Even if I lose revenue, if it hits a certain point, I can collect on that through my insurance company as a natural disaster. So if I'm down 40% in sales, we're not, but if I am, I can report that and get that 40% back in cash as a cash payout for my insurance company. You know, there's bunches of them that do that. Again, I'm not trying to drill anything in. I'm not trying to scare you or panic you, but that is something that you should think about more than anything else. If you're going to invest some extra money into something, don't buy a new phone, don't buy a fancy car, don't buy fancy lights or a fancy camera. Get a nice camera, but cover yourself. This is your only income coming in. If something happens to it, what are you going to do? You can't just go out and get a job tomorrow, even if this wasn't going on. And even if you did get a job tomorrow, they usually have a 2 or 3 week pay gap before you get your first paycheck. So, these are all things to think about when you're doing this. I've hurt a foot doing research or doing reselling. I've got some ligament damage in a foot. So medical issues can happen too, and that's another thought. Now, you're going to need separate insurance for that, but a BOP is like the most basic insurance you could imagine. And for a small business, if you got less than $100,000 in merchandise and inventory, it's less than $100 a month. I'm sorry, but for that kind of money doing this business, it's a godsend to feel the security of having something like that. I mean, the lack of worry from something like that is immense. Because it doesn't take, somebody could just come in and trash the place or, vandalize something or whatever happens, anything, steal your laptop, steal your servers or whatever the case may be and run off your cameras or whatever else. All that's covered under something like that. Most people couldn't afford the loss of a laptop without it. If you lose your laptop and you've got like a $2,000 laptop, graphics or a server or something in your house, what are you going to do if you don't have a bunch of money coming in and you have no way to cover the expense of that? You're out of business again. You have to go to the library constantly. You can't really list from the library. And right now you can't go to the library because it's closed too here, of course. But let's hop on down here. Hey, Jason, how are you doing? Sales slow for some. Hawaiian flower child sales are slow. Michael, I'm selling postcards pretty good right now and some other info. Yeah, as I said, paper. Collectibles are collectibles. People still collect no matter what. Most of the people who buy postcards, and I'm not exaggerating, if you go to a paper show or a postcard show, the majority of them are retirees. Again, I'm not trying to, ridicule or disparage any specific age group whatsoever, because I'm almost in the, I'm over the top now. I'm over 50, so, age is just what it is for demographics for your business. It's something you need to know. So most of the people who buy postcards from me any day of the week don't have to worry about a job in the first place. They already have their set income or their savings, whatever they're using to buy the items they purchase from me. Even another large group of them, I buy and sell to lots of universities and college professors and things like that, certain areas that historical items. I sell a lot like that. I sell some to Hollywood. Haven't sold many to Hollywood recently because I think most of their production is on hiatus with what's going on. But a lot of what I sell are bought by people who don't worry about the money, so to speak. I mean, I wouldn't be one of those buying the stuff that the folks buy from me because I don't spend money like that. But anyway, I'm cheap. Everybody should be cheap as can be right now. I mean cheap as can be. Don't spend a dime unless you have to. And I do mean have to. Make it all last longer. Expand it out. Spread it out. One thing I see people do, they'll get some money in and they'll go out and splurge, even at the grocery store. And I know that may sound really cheap, but when you're starting off, every dime counts. Just because you have extra money, you want to keep that extra money for stuff like this. Save the money in the bank. And I've been talking about this. I mean, we set ourselves up long ago. I learned my lesson living week to week, working for other folks. One benefit of everybody being a reseller is you already have the experience. You already have the accounts. Chances are most folks watching right now probably already are past the probationary period. So no money's held. It's pretty much paid out to you immediately. Anybody trying to get into it right now is going to have to go through that whole process. Chances are, once you've been on long enough, you've got more ins, you've got outs, you know what's going on better. There's no learning curve. So if I was working in a restaurant now, our family would be in some trouble, I can tell you right now, because I wouldn't have savings like we do now. All this stuff changed for a life when I started doing the business full time, like 9 years ago, I think we're at right now. 9 years full time, just doing this. Again, I've done eBay since eBay was called eBay. So experience is a big plus. Let's go back to some questions here. Yeah, Duncan. Hey, Duncan, how are you doing? Duncan's 156%. Now, again, I am down like 13%. Bottom end, though, I'm taking home just as much money I was before because I don't have all the overhead anymore. I've got no labor, So we're just hitting certain items and not just bombing them up with items like I normally do. So I cut off a bunch of my labor because they can't come out of the house to work anyway. And I'm not sourcing at all. I don't need to source at all in any way, shape, or form, probably till the end of the year if I didn't want to. Obviously, I love getting out. We've been stuck in the house for 13 days straight now and haven't left for anything other than rolling a garbage can out. So, Yeah, and Duncan's straight on that. I mean, I've seen some of Duncan's stuff before, let's just say. And his lovely wife, of course. Let's see here. Black Crystal Dice, how are you doing this evening? Annie, how's Annie doing this evening as well? Hope you are doing well. I got Karen in the house also. Again, there is a new Patreon video up. It's already up. It's already ready to roll. I did see several people have watched it already. Got eBay taking my homemade bamboo filter masks I relisted. Can they shut me down? If it's a banned item like the face masks, they can kill your account. So if they pull them down, do not relist. Never, ever, ever relist anything that eBay pulls down. That was sent out in an email to everybody, and it was on the main page about those items not being able to be listed at the present time. I saw a similar post on Amazon as well. I even want to say I saw something on our Etsy about it too, because people are doing them and selling them on Etsy. Now, I haven't heard anybody say they actually took anything down in Etsy. So if you're making your own masks, you may be safe to sell them on Etsy. Don't sell them for any kind of markup. Find out what the fair market value is and don't go much over that. That's my fair assessment on that. But don't sell anything anytime eBay tells you to remove it or closes it on you. Do not relist. The notice they're going to send you in the email telling you that they pulled that item is going to tell you that you can get in some big trouble for relisting it. I can see them shutting somebody down if you relist that item that they pulled for violating that current status. They can change the policies as they wish. Yeah, FBA is still going fairly well. They did put a hold on it, if you notice, but they've opened it up to more people to bringing more stuff in FBA. So if you do FBA and already had stuff up there, you're pretty much set on that stuff. They're still sending it out. Now, I've had a Prime account forever, since college days, 10 years or so. If you buy something through Prime and don't mind waiting, they're giving you like $3 credit every time you do it. So you can get some money out of it at least, or lower the cost of something you may need, depending on where they're at in shipment of many of these items. So just keep that in mind. I think it helps to just get activity in your store when you list some auctions. Yeah, listing in general. If you've got, say, only 50 items, list them up 5 a day for those 10-day frame. That'll give you constant movement on your account. If you want more movement, and I've talked about this, I show it in a video, bulk edit your items by $1 down 1 week, next week go up $1. Whatever you want to do with that, $5 or whatever, but lower a whole bunch in bulk. I've got a video from a couple weeks back that shows you exactly how to do it step by step in that video. I do that quite often. The things that are tied to your listing 24/7 that are pretty much glued to your listing are the title. Only one, the very first photo, the photo that shows up when they're scanning through and scrolling through items, that photo, that one photo is tied to the main frame of your listing, as is the price. The other photos are stored somewhere else and are not tied to the main one. We know that for a fact because of them losing the photo. So those 3 factors are always tied. If you change one of those factors, it has to move you around. There's no way around it. It has to at least recategorize you by price, if nothing else. If you change even one word in the title, you will have to be categorized again because it's going to fall somewhere else. That's why that works. There's nothing they can do about it because there is no rule that says you can't constantly go in and change your prices. Now, I know they tried to pull that when they changed it where you can't list something on sale unless it's been up for 14 days or as a relist and that stuff. They're thinking on that, and I buy their thinking only because in a retail establishment, a brick and mortar, you can't just put something on the floor higher and then come back in and say, I'm going to mark it down. Now, these are retail, not vintage. We're not talking about antiques. Antiques are a whole different market. You can pretty much do what you want with something that's not essential like that. You can't like jack up a prescription drug the next day, even though they do it all the time. Again, I don't condone any of that. I think it should all be available to everybody. So just my take. Let's see here. Are you guys all doing pickup only for shipping items, or do you still... I haven't been to the post office in years, unless I have to get something out of my box. We've got a business post office box and a personal post office box, but they pick up here. If you go and set yourself up a U.S. Post Office page, you can set up your account with them, and we renew our post office boxes from there. I set up, the pickup schedule from that page. We do a year in advance. So December 31st, I set up a whole nother year. Every year I've been doing this. And you just block off every day. You can highlight them all at once and highlight an entire year of pickup days all at once. And that's how I do it for the post office. It's really simple, really easy. They'll ask you a few questions and then you're done, There are a few addresses that they won't do that for, was what I was under the impression. I haven't seen anybody who said they couldn't get it picked up. Maybe somebody living way out in the country or something who doesn't necessarily have a mailbox in the first place may not be able to get pickups. But I never go to the post office unless there's no other choice. Yeah, Annie, same thing here, saying the exact same thing. I always have them pick up. But again, we run 24/7. I've got employees, so there's always someone here. Even if the family's on vacation, the business stays and other people run it for us while we're gone. I'm just a phone call away for any technical issues. And the few issues that have ever arisen when somebody was filling in while we were on vacation, I've always been able to walk them through. I keep a photo of every shelf in the building, so if I need to tell them where to go, I can pull up a photo and send them that, and they can instantly know where an item's at or whatever the case may be. I have lists of stuff on my phone, too, for that specific reason. I had somebody ask me on vacation settings on stuff, and I didn't get a chance to get back, and I can't remember where I saw that at. So let me just touch on that real quick here. Vacation settings, I personally don't use, but your best choice on a vacation setting is to close it down. I know you won't get sales, but what happens in most of the times, even if you change your delivery time frame, a lot of people don't pay any attention to that, and they can still leave you negative feedback. And I know the majority of people that I have talked to who have done just extended the time frame have taken some negative hits on it. It's depends on your risk and how much you can afford to turn it off. If you turn it off for the first few days and then set your shipment date till 3 or 4 days when you're ending your vacation, you can pull back up sooner than getting home. So let's say I'm going to be home and I'm going on a week's vacation. The first 4 days I have it closed down. The night of the 4th night, I will open it back up and then change it to a 3-day thing is what I would do. Or on the 5th night do it, so you're only doing it for 2 days. It just depends. Usually if we're on vacation, I'll run it over the weekend part of my time frame too, so either way you can cover it that way. So if you do it the weekend, you can turn it back on, say on Thursday, so you only have Friday that you're required. You come back Sunday evening, all your stuff are still active. You just extended your shipment time till Monday for the Friday date, if that makes any sense for you. So you can run through half your vacation with it off and then turn it on. You're only losing a few days at that point. That would be my honest take on it. Again, I'm sorry I don't remember who said that question. I wrote it down to answer it, and then I totally forgot where the question came from. I've got a lot going on. As I said, without employees and with most of the family sick, it was just me for like 2 or 3 days. I know for most people that wouldn't be any ordeal, but when you're on 10 platforms and you've got stuff just flooding in from many different platforms, even just questions and stuff, it got to be a bit much. Plus Patreon and all the other stuff that we do. So I do a lot of stuff that nobody sees. I do businesses in the toys and the artwork that nobody knows about. Well, I'm not nobody, but some folks do. Some folks I've sent some stuff to here that are subscribers. But for the most part, most people don't know all the stuff that we do. So it's a lot of work for just one person. I was up to here, I was flooded. I was in the weeds beyond belief. But we make it through it. You don't panic. You just do it at the pace you can do and go from there. Things have worked out, so I can't complain. And even right now, I still have sales coming in right this very second, honestly, which is still kind of surprising that it still works this way. Another email from somebody. Let me pop on down here. Yeah, Brandy, same thing, uses the post office to pick up. Homemade masks are still masks on that, so even if you're saying homemade masks, it still qualifies for a mask. I would imagine they've pulled off anything that has the word mask that shows up in a health-related category on eBay. That would just be my assumption. I know they can narrow down closing off category specifics whenever they want to with just a couple buttons from the way it looks like these days. I know in the past it wasn't like that. Part of their setting up the database, categorized database, kind of like Amazon, that gives them the ability to do stuff like that, would be my honest opinion. Again, I have a background in database design and construction, which is what eBay is. I know SQL and many of those other there's three programs that I personally know and had to deal with in college for setting up databases. When they've changed it all around, and I'm sure of that just by the little information that we are able to glean from like searches and stuff like that too. So just FYI. I know I'm rambling. Let's go on and get to some more questions here. I would honestly, if you're I would not go to the post office, anybody. I would literally, if you're going to be home anyway, sign up for the U.S. Postal Service's account. Sign up for an account, log in, and set up pickup at your door. I have a cutoff time for my shipments out. It's 11 o'clock these days. I'm actually going to have to drop it down to 10 because the post office right now is shipping far less items than they have in I don't know how long. So it's taking them less time to get here. So I'm barely making it here to pack up on. Like this morning, I had a lot of stuff going out, 50 some odd items going out this morning. I didn't expect to have as many items because we've been semi-slow. I know I've been working on things, but I got up a little later because I wasn't feeling still so good. And I had to rush, and they were here like just a matter of minutes afterwards. In fact, I was out back when they came to the front and didn't even hear them at first. But luckily, I've got an awesome mail person here. She does a great job. I mean, talking about thanking and helping others, I give my mail lady something for Christmas every year, not just some cheapy thing. I don't remember what I gave her last year. Maybe it was a $50 gift card or something like that, or $25. I don't remember, but I think I'll probably give her more this year for sure. I know I wrote it down because it's technically like a business expense to some extent. I didn't write it off or anything, but it's technically a business expense. Usually I just keep those as like my personal giveaways. Even paying for UPS pickup about once a week. Yeah, you can do that as well. And he's got a very good point there too. There are people that pay. I have a UPS account. If I get so many items sent out, I can have a free pickup. Or if I know something's coming, we still get packages quite often here. A lot of business related stuff. I still have artwork coming and going. I've got some at a photographer studio now. I've got some at a printer's, mostly digital, but I do have some hard copies of originals out right this minute. I don't have a good polarized way, and I've got some images that I unfortunately glazed, and I shouldn't have glazed them before I took the photos. My own bad. Hawaiian Flower Child, they're probably, if you're they're dinging you on those items. That's what they're supposed to do at this point. I'm not trying to stick up for them, but don't relist something regardless of what you think it is. eBay is the final say. If they pull it down once, be prepared to have them pull it down again, and they could ding you or put you in a timeout. I'm not wishing ill upon anybody, and I understand the thought of it, but that's what I would be worried about. Most of the folks that I know that had any did donate them to local, in fact, to the nursing home here in town. Some of them did, so I'm not telling you to do that, and I'm not going to say it's wrong to try and at least compensate for your time and effort. So no offense meant at all. So just keep that in mind. Hang on here. I'm still running awful on YouTube. This is just so weird. Where are we at? Rummage for Riches. eBay stores up 18.5% last 31 days. I would look at it too. I do it on a monthly basis, as I said, but in this time frame, I'm looking at it a week by week just to see where we're running. I would want to know if I was busy in the first couple weeks and then it started to lay or go down from there. I would do a projection on it personally. Anybody who isn't doing projection, that's what you should start doing if I was you. I've got a video. If you type in projections, I think you can find it on YouTube, my video on that. But I'll show you step by step how to do it. I would recommend it. Anybody who's worked in a brick and mortar as a shift leader, assistant manager, general manager, regional manager, anything else does projections in a brick and mortar almost every day of their life, and sometimes half a dozen times in a shift of 8 hours. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. I would always do that because you can tell where you're going. Like I said, we were down 24%. I knew it instantly as time went by in a day or so. Obviously, I couldn't do something about it immediately because we were sick here, but once I got into it, I was able to correct it. I cut it down in half in less than a week's time frame. So if I keep going at this pace, again, we've switched up items. I've switched some to auctions. I've put stuff on sale. I've hammered all the offers to watchers, and I cut my losses down in half. So at a 12% or so, that's my overhead basically. So I'm still doing the same thing I was doing before. I'm just not selling as many items, but I don't have the overhead anymore because of labor loss. So, which is a huge amount of money-wise. Again, I run high labor through the summer and times because fourth quarter is what matters. I'm working towards fourth quarter. We're just worried about putting certain stuff up right this minute. The minute the stay-at-home order goes and I can have employees again, we're going to be back to full swing, listing everything as normal. And half of it'll probably be the $5 or $7 to $8 to $50 range, and then the rest will just be whatever, including any holiday-related items. So, just FYI. I have never done pickup before, but I think I might start because of this whole situation. Normally, I just go to the UPS store to do my shipping. Yeah, I wouldn't. I would just have them pick up. Hawaiian Flower Child, their UPS store is down. That's surprising. Yeah, I did see. I have a return, and since Kohl's is closed right now, the returns are all now for Amazon are all going to the UPS store if they're open. I know one of ours is closed. One of the drop-off points was closed, but I did check. We still have one here. Hesitant to go to drop off a return, but we'll see. Rapid Rick, sales are up 20% on eBay. Amazon sales up 45% because FBA is closed down. FBM. FBA is closed down for sending in new things, but we're still selling what's up, as I said. Carolina Picks, I answered you. I'm almost called out your real name. I'm sorry. I don't want to call out people's real names, but I answered you in an email in there just a little while before the show. Manage payments. The biggest call out you need to do right this minute, well, I don't know how everybody will be able to do it, but one thing you need to consider right away, though, is to get yourself a business bank account. Manage payments requires a business bank account. The money is deposited into your bank account, just like on Amazon. So if you're selling on Amazon, I'm sure you would have a business bank account, I would hope. If you're funneling your Amazon money and eBay money into a personal account, don't do that. What could happen at the end of the day is if something happens with your business, you have a business license and something happens to your business, they can levy your personal accounts against any losses or any money due to the IRS or pretty much anybody else. Keep separate your personal and your business funds. Always. Do not mix and mingle them. If you want to take and pay yourself from one account to the other, that is perfectly fine. 100%, because that's how we handle it. Now, we've got multiple business accounts, accounts receivable, accounts payable. I think we have 4 full-fledged accounts that we use right now. One's for labor and then a general transfer account. So that would be the gist on what you would do when you get up to a certain point. But the bare minimum is one bank account that's a business account. If you already got a checking account or something for personal use, most of the time your bank will just give you one. There is usually no charge for a person or for a business account. I know our bank does not do any charges for the business accounts, or if they do, they don't charge me. I've been with the bank for a very long time. We've got multiple accounts, including multiple personal. My kids have accounts there in the whole works. Another thing I would always recommend is having accounts in a couple different banks. Don't just stick to one bank in case something happens. So I've got extra accounts there. I do have an online banking account that's separate from any of those as well. So multiple everything is always the best bet. Just FYI. Read the email. I almost called your name again. Read the Carolina Picks. Read the email again on there if you haven't gotten to it yet. There is a new video up in there as well for you too. Yeah, Annie's talking about the same thing. I honestly almost only use UPS as well for FBA also, because it's the cheapest thing. You get the discount with Amazon and the whole works. So I do very rarely send like matches or something else like that have to go ground, and usually I can do a little better on price with that, depending on where I'm going and how I want to handle it. It's just a little less of a hassle sometimes on some stuff like that has to be shipped a very specific way. Ground specific, like a can of spray paint, I would trust more with UPS than I would with the post office. Just personal. I don't trust that they wouldn't put something on a plane, but UPS, I haven't heard of any issues like that. I'm not going to be on much longer here. My stomach is still kind of not feeling so well. I'm kind of right now, so we will be on just for a few more minutes here. Yeah, and Annie's saying the same thing. It's worth it not to leave your house. I don't want to really go out right now. And I know people think that's being paranoid, but it's not when you have somebody in your family who has a pre-existing condition. So, take it as you wish. Just not something I care to do. Go to the airport. Not sure how that would help you. Hey, Linda, how are you doing this evening? Let me pop on down here. Let's see here. Hang on just a second. My feed's gone. I reset all 960 items and added more. I have collectibles, antiques, paintings. This is Alicia Burton. Postcards, matchbooks, new and used items. I sent offers. I only sold 4 items last week and nothing this week. I don't know what you're selling. You're the biggest, and I'm telling you, the biggest thing I always see is title, your keywords, the photo, and the prices. Those 3 things will make or break your items. The other thing, too, look at what you're selling. If it's something very, very common that everybody has up, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. It's not going to make much movement in my book. Broad mix is always best. Having the most variety of items up is always the best bet in my book. You know, broaden your horizon, spread out, branch out to different areas. That way you have a chance in selling when one area goes down or another area goes down. But without knowing exactly what you have up, it's kind of hard to say what the issue is. But I'm telling you, I haven't looked at a store yet where those three issues, the title, keywords, photo, and the price, haven't been an issue with why someone hasn't been selling stuff. I've pointed out stuff to many people on their store, and they've sold some of the stuff that I said to address. And I point out certain examples, and it's just one example of the same issues with, people's stores. A lot of people have issues with that. The photo is just so important. Like I do 600 DPIs and things like that too. So when you hover over it, the blow up is huge, and that's what I want. I don't go much over that just for time, space, scanning, and the whole works. That's kind of a good middle point. I've heard people tell me they do 1200 DPI, some do 300. I just do the 600 on everything and be done with it, Regina, has anybody else had any issues shipping internationally with global shipping program? I have a buyer in Vietnam. Not sure what your issue is. I have never had an issue with the global shipping program. I've had an item that the buyer said it was broken when they got to it, but eBay covers those. You are never out if something is damaged. Once it hits Kentucky, their shipping facility, eBay covers the losses unless it's so very obvious that it was broken or something when you sent it out and you were trying to con them. I've never had them not cover it immediately, and it covers your feedback from issues like that as well too. So if they said there was an issue with it and eBay acknowledged that it was received, they're acknowledging that it was received in good condition if they pass it from Kentucky to the next destination. That's eBay's problem. They don't look at them anymore. I was told they did at one time, but I know they don't anymore. So if something's damaged, they have no clue. Just be honest with what's going on, and you should do fine. Vietnam is one I won't ship directly to, so I do use the global shipping program for Vietnam 100%. Just FYI. Mogo just sent out offers. I'm telling you, the offers to watchers work very well for us. You got to check them constantly because you could have a bunch in 1 hour. The next hour, those same people could be watching other people's items and got a whole bunch of offers from other people before you even saw it, and then they're all gone and you have no chance to send them out. That's why I say if you stay on those, you can get a lot of them out. I know I've got a lot of items, but still, we're sending out 60 or 70 every day now. And that's me only sending out the ones that are from items that have been up for a little length of time, not new items per se. So just take that into consideration here. I'm going to have to cut it short here. I really don't feel all that spiffy right now. So we're going to cut it off here. I don't mean to cut it short on you. I know we're at the hour point, but I do hope everybody is doing well. But I'm going to have to shut it off. My stomach is just feeling awful right now. So I do appreciate it. I will be back on with another video tomorrow as well. We'll go into some different topics there, but I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button down below, and I wish you all a great day.